What's going on YouTube? Chris here. Want to bring you all an update today of Bitcoin. Right now it's sitting at $13,000. We're up 0.49%. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin on the 1-day time frame. There's a couple things I wanted to point out here, both bullish and bearish for us that we need to pay attention to. And first of all, I'm going to start in here with the bearish, just so we know and pay attention to these things. I would write them down just so you can watch them on the charts as the day continues to progress. So what we've had here, this was back on October 21st. We had a beautiful candle here, guys. This was really strong, but we had a lot of profit taking up in this area. And what I wanted to do here was actually show you the profit taking. So the wick on that was about 3.28%. So that's a very long wick there. And then the next day, we had another long wick, and we almost had like that tweezer top formation. And then what we had yesterday was almost like a hanging man candle. We had a little bit too much wick on the top, but this would almost be like a hanging man candle. And now we're having a small day or short day candle. So what I'm anticipating, now we can always move sideways, and I have an example of this for you, but what I would be anticipating is some type of retracement coming up. The reason for that is we're getting these candlestick formations and these longer wicks while the RSI on the 1-day time frame's up at 80. So a lot of people like to take their profits, then potentially buy back in an area around that 12,305. Could be an area, maybe even a little bit lower around 11,932. Main area I would want to see as support, though, what I would like to see is for us to be healthy, 12,305. And the reason for that, that was our previous resistance that we broke up through. We would want that to become support. But with these long wicks up here, the hanging man candle, the 80 on the RSI, we had a little bit above average selling volume, and we're paying attention to the volume today. I would be anticipating some type of cooling down period for Bitcoin coming up, and maybe even some of the money from Bitcoin getting transferred into the altcoins. You know, that's something I like to look at, because sometimes Bitcoin will pump hard, and then a lot of people will take their profits from Bitcoin and they'll start putting them into the altcoins. It's not a guarantee. You have to pay attention to the market and really, watch these fundamentals and technicals, but a lot of the times that will happen, and then you can see the alts run pretty hard. And then when the alts get overextended, they'll start to be a sell-off in the alts, and it'll go back into Bitcoin. That's just the way these things work sometimes. So I'm just looking for that cooling down period for Bitcoin as we're getting up to this resistance area at $13,167. Now, the example I wanted to give you here, if Bitcoin wants to just get crazy and it really doesn't matter, you can see back in here a very similar candle right here, and then we had just a nasty long wick. This thing's probably about 5%, and it looked like on heavy volume we were going to start to reverse back down. That was a huge telltale sign, and we didn't. Okay, on lower volume we ended up pushing up again, and we ended up going roughly from about 8,783 up to 10,105. Okay, after it looked like in traditional markets we would cool back down and get that retracement. So sometimes Bitcoin can be so bullish that we just really move sideways for a few days, even sideways and up slightly before we get that next kick. And then a lot of the times we'll get that big sell-off. You can get that extra leg a lot of times in Bitcoin. So I'm also watching that. And that's where it's different. This isn't financial advice. Longer term investors, they're sitting in these positions. You want to continue to ride this. Overall now, in the intermediate, almost longer term trend here, we have been in an uptrend, and we're getting our impulse waves to the upside on heavier volume. So now I'm watching the volume to see what happens with this selling pressure here. Is it going to be large and we retrace fast, or is it going to contract just slightly and we get that next pop to the upside and try to tackle $14,000? That's what I'm looking at. But the RSI is up in that traditional area when we typically start to cool off. But yet again, over here, we even had a bearish engulfing candle, and then we pushed up a little bit harder here, which can be an extra $1,000 on Bitcoin, where things just don't make sense. The technicals don't really make sense, but the market manipulators, they're just going to push the market, up into the 90s for the RSI. So that's one thing I'll tell you too, when people will say, in the books that at 70, you really want to start selling in crypto. I think it's different. I think it's more so up into the 80s and the 90s on the RSI, but that's just my opinion on things. I like to hold a little bit longer because I'd rather hold a little bit longer and see what happens with those kicks than sell out too soon and have it really spike hard, That's the way I like to do it. At least I like to swing trade this market. But we're still up above our 20 EMA. We're up above our 50. We're up above our 100. We're up above our 200. We broke out of our symmetrical triangle with an impulse wave to the upside. It's just now seeing what we do with this 13,167. If we get into the technicals, and you can see on the year now, we're up 31% for Bitcoin. So that's really nice. 1 week, we're up 10.55%. 1 month, up 23%. So that's what I'm saying. Just be careful, because sometimes we do need to have those retracements or those consolidation periods, so we can have this become just a healthy trend for us. And what you're seeing here is the oscillators. There's a few things like the relative strength, like we were talking about. It's at a sell signal because it's at 80. So we're really overbought. The commodity channel's a sell, the momentum's a sell, MACD's a buy, awesome oscillators a buy, the rest are neutral. So we're having a 3 sell, 6 neutral, 2 buy, overall 4 sell, 7 neutral, and a 17 buy. And a lot of those buying numbers here are coming from the moving averages, because we're up so far above these moving averages. And typically when you blast away from these moving averages, you'll get pulled back onto them with some type of retracement. But guys, these are the areas that I'm looking at right now for Bitcoin. Let's just really watch this candlestick formation, see what happens with this short day candle today, see if we're just going to move sideways and get that next big pop to the upside, or if this is where we're finally going to get a nice deep retracement, market breeze, before we potentially continue to move to the upside. We got a lot going on with elections, everything else out there. So this is where we have to be patient, and we just have to watch this price action, pay attention to all the news stories that are coming out for Bitcoin, and just do the best you can to put yourself in winning positions. So God bless you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends. Take care.